Hello wonderful world, Elayne here, and today I am filming my summer book haul. So, I have 20 books to talk about today that I have bought from the months of May, end of May through now, which is end of July. Before we start, my cat wants to make an appearance. Say hi, Loki. Look, it's right there. Hi. Now we can start to the first book. The first book that I bought is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. I actually already talked about this book in my Florida bookstore vlog, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in here as well. Loneliest Girl in the Universe follows the story of a young girl who was on a ship in outer space with her parents. However, after her parents' tragic death, she is alone in outer space, and the only person she has contact with is her therapist, who is back on Earth. However, when NASA alerts her that another ship will be joining her ship, she thinks it's a dream come true, and she starts up a communication with these people on the other ship. A friendship blossoms, maybe a little bit of a romance, but the main character quickly learns that the captain that she's been chatting with is not all who they seem to be. I've heard that this book is a thriller, it's kind of weird, it's a little creepy, scary. I'm excited to read it. It's super short, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to fly through it. I'm hoping that it is a thriller and it keeps me like guessing and there's lots of twists and turns. So yeah. The next book that I bought I also talked about in my Florida bookstore vlog, and that is Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. This is a sapphic YA fantasy novel about a girl named Tamsin who is the most powerful witch in her coven, but after doing something that's against the rules, she gets kicked out of the coven and she is cursed with the inability to feel love. Meanwhile, we've got Wren. Wren is a source, meaning that she is a source of power for other witches and magical beings around her. Her father is really sick because this dark witch cursed a plague and her father caught it, and she now wants to hunt down this dark witch and save her father. So she makes a deal with Tamsin. If Tamsin can help her find this dark witch, and therefore her father will be saved, she will give Tamsin the love that she feels for her father, and then Tamsin will be able to feel love. However, this is kind of a rocky road because they don't really like each other. There's this really cool tagline in here. It says, "Of course, love bargains are a tricky thing, and these two have a long, perilous journey ahead of them. That is, if they don't kill each other first." I don't know, that just really drew me in. I'm really excited about this book, plus it's absolutely beautiful. The next book I had pre-ordered for a long time, and it came in June, and that is Better Together by Christine Riccio. I read Again But Better by Christine, and I adored it, so I was super excited to jump into this. I've actually already read it, loved it, 5 out of 5 stars. It is about two sisters, Jamie and Siri, who have been separated since they were very, very young. Jamie is 20, living in LA, and she wants to be a comedian. Siri is 18, living in New Jersey, New York area, and she recently had a really bad injury, thus halting her career in ballet. So both of them randomly sign up for a retreat in Colorado called Rediscover Yourself Retreat. They meet there and they're like, whoa, we're sisters, and they decide to pull a parent trap. And so they switch places. Jamie goes to New York, Siri goes to LA, and they try to like mess with their parents, okay? So it's kind of the major plot. This book has some magic sprinkled into it. It's filled with family drama. There are moments of laugh out loud laughter, but there's also really serious ones. There's such cute romance. It also falls into the LGBTQ+ category of romance. I got this book and I've already read it, so. The next book that I have to show is Girl Serpentthorne by Melissa Bouchard-Dust. This book follows the main character named Soraya, who was cursed when she was a child, that whenever someone touches her, they will die. So because of that, Soraya has been locked away her whole life. This is because her brother is the Shah or the king, and if their people were to find out about her curse, they would see it as a sign that her family is not meant to be royalty. So she's been hidden away her whole life by herself, and when there is a chance for her to learn more about her curse and possibly learn how to get rid of it, she jumps at it, kind of ensuing some chaos and destruction. I have already read this book as well, and I really enjoyed it. Another sapphic LGBTQ+ romance fantasy novel. It's also a standalone, and I flew through this book. It's very beautiful. I really liked it. The world building's really cool, so yeah. The next book I have is Dragons of Autumn Twilight, which is a Dragonlance Chronicles novel, and it is the first one. This is written by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. This is a Dungeons and Dragons book. My dad got it for me, and I'm excited to read it. I've never read a Dungeons and Dragons book before. I have played it, but I've never like read this kind of stuff before. I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but after kind of reading the blurb and checking it on Goodreads, it seems like it's about two friends who are really close, and then they kind of drifted apart, and now they're back together again, and they've got to like go on a quest, and they meet this woman, and they're thrust into this adventure, and they never really expected themselves to be heroes. Nobody did. But now they gotta do what they gotta do. So I'm excited because it's gonna deal with lots of like creatures and dragons and trolls and goblins and magical stuff, and I love that kind of stuff, so I'm excited to dive into this. Speaking of magical creatures, the next book I have is The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. This book follows the story of Megan Chase. She's just a normal teen, hanging out in high school, going to classes, doing her work, when suddenly her brother is taken and replaced by a changeling. Then Megan is thrust into the world of fairies, fae, changelings, goblins, all kinds of stuff, right? And although she knows absolutely nothing about fairy world, she is trying her very best to survive and get back her brother. Along the way, she learns lots about her family history and her past and why she is able to, be in fairyland. This book is part of a series. I believe it's like 9 books long. I've already read this. I really enjoyed it. It was a quick, fun read. Yeah. So if you like fairy stuff, fae, a little fae romance, a little enemies to lovers, this book is for you. The next 2 books that I have to show you are both books from the School of Life, and that is On Confidence and Dating. So On Confidence is just about confidence and the difference between success and failure and how confidence affects that and how you can get it, what it is, what you need to do to be more confident. And it's just kind of a deep dive into the whole idea of confidence. I like this idea because it kind of teaches that confidence is a skill. It's something that has to be worked on. It's not just something that you're born with. I mean, maybe some people are, but most of us, we have to kind of work on confidence and building it up. Dating is a deep dive into the history of dating and just like the societal practice of dating and how we go about finding the one for us and how dating has changed, back in the olden days when you would like knock on the door and bring flowers and meet the parents, and now, we've got Tinder and hookup culture. Although hookup culture was probably always there. I just feel like it's more talked about and open now. Both of these books, I will not be reading cover to cover. I plan on opening them up, reading a little bit at a time. There's like chapters and little snippets. So I just really thought that these books were interesting, especially the dating one. I'm excited to dive into that. I mean, look at the cover. Like, School of Life has a lot of books similar to these on a lot of varieties of topics. The next book that I have is In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland. This is another YA fantasy book. It follows the story of Rowan. So in Rowan's world, people gifted with magic are given an undead creature or spirit to kind of guide over them. However, Rowan's father died trying to prevent her from this fate, and so ever since then, Rowan has been desperate to hide her magic. However, one day when her magic is accidentally revealed, she's thrust into this new world. She is desperate to regain her independence, but she finds herself falling in love with 2 different people. The 3 of them discover a secret that threatens to rip apart society as they know it, okay? And they're kind of thrust into this adventure and what to do. So to save everyone, Rowan has to start a rebellion, and there she is thrust into an adventure full of twists and turns and secrets. And, she's trying to save both the undead and the living. So this book does have principles of the underworld and that whole concept, which I think is going to be really fun. This has a pansexual love triangle. So it does have the love triangle trope. Just to let you know, I know some people don't like love triangles, but it is pansexual, so that's a fun twist. Super excited about this book. It's supposed to be really dark, and I'm excited about that. I mean, just look at the cover. It kind of looks dark. The back says, lovers of dark fantasy and edgy romance will enjoy this tale, which gives the stage to an asexual protagonist. I just think this book sounds really cool. I'm excited to dive into it. Okay, the next book that I have, I'm not really sure if I'm excited to dive into it, but I want to read it, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This book's probably gonna make me cry, right? Everybody says it makes them cry. I'm not really sure what this book is about. I know it's about college friends who are kind of dealing with their ambitions and goals and growing up and moving into the world. I think it deals with the concept of family and making your own family as well as the one that you were born into, as well as the idea of confronting the past and your past traumas and dealing with them. So, just looking off the cover alone, I feel like it's gonna be sad. I mean, literally look at this face. They're literally crying. That's really all I know about it. I kind of don't want to know anything specific because I kind of want to go into this blindly and see how much it makes me cry. So if I'm completely wrong about this book, you could tell me, but also you don't have to because that might be kind of fun. But we'll see. The next 3 books that I have are the Brown Sisters Romance Trilogy by Talia Hibbert. So the first one is Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hit, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Sorry, those are a mouthful and I always get the names wrong. I've already read Chloe Brown. I bought this back in May and I devoured it on my vacation while I was in Florida. Chloe Brown follows the story of a woman named Chloe Brown who has a near-death experience at the very beginning of the novel, and when she sees her life flash before her eyes, she decides it's not good enough. So she makes a list of things that she can do to get a life. One of these things includes moving out of her family home, and she moves into her own apartment where the superintendent is Red. She doesn't really like Red. He irks her. She thinks he's annoying. Red doesn't really like her. Red thinks she's pretentious and a rich girl who thinks she's better than everyone else. But they quickly learn that their assumptions about each other are not all that accurate, and a romance ensues from there. I really liked this book because it also has a lot of representation. Chloe is a Black woman with chronic pain. I've never read a book about someone with chronic pain before, and it brought a lot of things to light for myself. It made me think about how to be more inclusive. So I loved this book because not only was it a very steamy, very smutty, amazingly written romance novel, but it also made me think about the world around me and how I can be more inclusive and a better person. So what's better than that? Cute romance, smuttiness, and a new worldview? So that's why I wanted to buy the next 2. I'm excited to read these as well. I believe this one has a fake dating trope, and I think this one is enemies to lovers. So the next book, Call Me By Your Name by Andre Ackman. I listened to this on audiobook. I actually just finished it yesterday. And I went ahead and bought it on paperback because there were a lot of quotes that I wanted to go back and mark or just be able to read in the book form. I actually have not watched the movie Call Me By Your Name, which is crazy because I love Timothée Chalamet. Love him so much. Timothy, if you're watching this, pretend you didn't hear that. That way when we meet, you won't think I'm obsessed with you or know your birthday or your shoe size or your height or anything like that. So just, if you're watching this, pretend you didn't hear that. That way when we have our meet cute, it can be like, oh my gosh, you're that one guy, right? What's your name again? So that you can think I'm like quirky and mysterious and we can fall in love. So like if you just happen to be watching this video, just pretend you didn't hear me say that I love you and I'm obsessed with you and I know everything about you. Okay? Anyways, Call Me By Your Name is the story of a very powerful and sudden romance that grows between Elio, who is a 17-year-old, and Oliver, who is 24. This takes place in the summer in Italy. Elio's parents have someone from the United States stay with them every summer so this person can study and kind of get immersed in Italian culture and yada yada yada. The person that they choose this time is Oliver, and Oliver and Elio develop a very intense romance. Elio is kind of coming into his sexuality, so he has a lot of sexual awakenings during the course of this book. He's learning a lot about himself and his body and just the world around him. It's just a very interesting book. I'm glad I read it though, so yeah. The next book I have is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a Greek retelling of the story of Achilles. I believe it's an LGBTQ+ story. I don't actually know anything about this. I don't even know the story of Achilles because I just don't for some reason. I feel like I should, but I don't. I have absolutely no idea what this book is going to be about. All I know is that it is a gay Greek retelling and everybody cries while reading it. I plan on filming a reading vlog of this because a lot of my friends have told me that I'll love it and that I will cry. So I feel like this would be a good book to do a reading vlog of. I'm excited about this book, but I'm also a little terrified that I will get my heart broken. Okay, another book I bought! One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Casey McQuiston is the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue. I absolutely love Red, White, and Royal Blue. They are a very good writer, so I'm looking forward to this book. It follows the story of a 23-year-old named August who just moved to New York. She has a very cynical outlook on life and love, and she doesn't expect New York to change that because she has like a million roommates and there's rats everywhere, and New York can be kind of gross. But when she sees this mysterious girl on the subway, she's suddenly like, whoa. This mysterious girl, Jane, is all she can think about. Turns out, however, that Jane is actually from the 70s, and was randomly placed in current day. August has to help her navigate this modern world, and a romance kind of grows from there. This book is described as being a magical, sexy romance. I'm really excited to read this. I think it sounds really fun. I love stuff about the 70s. 70s rock music is one of my favorite genres ever. Jane seems like she's gonna be a rocker. She's described as having rough edges, swoopy hair, and a soft smile showing up in a leather jacket. So I think she sounds awesome. I'm excited to read this. Okay, speaking of the 70s and my love for 70s rock, we have Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. This book, we've got a 14-year-old named Mary Jane living in Baltimore. One summer, she gets a nannying job for a local doctor. Her parents are really excited about this as they see it as a respectable job. What they don't know is that this doctor has cleared his entire summer to help a rock star get clean. So a rock star and his wife are living in his house while Mary Jane is nannying and taking care of the doctor's kids and, you know, kind of doing the laundry and the housework. So Mary Jane is quickly thrust into the world of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And while she's learning all about these rock things, she's also teaching the doctor and his kids about what her home life is like, and that is very, you know, clean, straight-laced, play by the rules. So it's gonna be a cool contrast between Mary Jane's home and the one that she's nannying in. I'm really excited to read about that contrast. I also bought Talk Bookish to Me by Kate Bromley. This book is a romance between Cara, who is a romance novelist, and her ex-boyfriend Ryan. So Cara dated Ryan in college, and they had a very intense, passionate relationship that kind of ended really badly. So when Cara runs into her ex at her best friend's wedding party, she is not happy to see him. Cara is having trouble writing her next romance novel, and she decides to use Ryan for inspiration. So when Ryan gets kicked out of his hotel room and has nowhere to go, Cara jumps at the chance to have him stay with her. So as Ryan stays with her, their old flames kind of start to rekindle, and it's just a romance from there. The next book I have is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've seen this book all over TikTok, and I finally gave in and decided to buy it. This is about a girl named Lily who hasn't always had it easy in life. She's worked really hard to get where she is now. She's graduated college, moved to Boston, started her own business, and she's dating a successful doctor. So everything's going good for her. However, when her first love, Atlas, suddenly reappears, everything that her and her current boyfriend have built is threatened. That's pretty much all I know about this book. I know that a lot of people say it's very emotional, it's very deep. I'm ready to read this. I haven't read a Colleen Hoover book in a really long time. I've got 3 of them right there. I've got Confess, Maybe Someday, and Slammed. I read those in like early high school, so I haven't touched a Colleen Hoover book in a really long time. So I'm ready to jump back into her books and see how I feel about them now. I picked this one up out of all of them because I've just seen it all over TikTok. And I gotta be in those conversations. I gotta know what people are talking about, right? FOMO. This is gonna be a romance novel that I think is probably gonna make me also cry and rip my heart out, so that's cute. And the last book of my summer book haul is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am so excited about this book. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of the best, most amazing writers of all time. She just is. Can you name one book that she's written that's horrible? No, you cannot. First of all, look at this cover. Look at the color scheme we've got going on. Look at the pop of pink. This book is about 4 children of a famous singer, and every year, Nina, the eldest daughter, throws a huge banger, a huge party, okay? Lots of celebrities come, lots of athletes, famous people, all kinds of people show up to this party, and it's a huge deal. However, this year, the party ends up in flames, literally. And we're kind of learning about the 4 siblings, their history, the kind of secrets that they keep from each other, and just their family past. And then they're also trying to figure out how the hell this fire got started. I think the last sentence of this really describes it. It says, Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family. The night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind. I've already started this. I'm like 70 pages in and I'm freaking loving it. It also kind of weaves in the past as well. So like the four siblings' parents' relationship, and it kind of weaves that in and how it all ties together. I'm not quite sure yet, but I think it's gonna tie all up together on this one night, and something crazy is gonna happen and everything's gonna be on fire. So yeah, those are the 20 books that I bought so far this summer from the months of May through July. So I would like pick them all up and show you, but I knew that was gonna happen. They're all fine. Don't worry about my books. They're fine. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you are doing oh so well. Please comment below a book that you've recently bought, or if you've read one of these, let me know what you thought, because I'd love to know what you guys think about these books. That way I can get even more excited about reading them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're doing oh so well, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.